Hi there, Let's Talk Sports fans. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of our Saturday morning roundtable, and I'm joined by Nick Bodkins, who is making his return this week. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks. Good to be back, boys. Good to be back.
Yeah, it's about time, dude.
And of course, becoming a regular visitor on the Saturday mornings, JG, coming on to give us his basketball knowledge. Thanks for joining me.
Yes, sir. It's great to be back, guys.
And man, what needs no introduction on Let's Talk Sports, Tanner. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for letting me on today. Appreciate it.
And this gives me an opportunity to promote sports buffoons. I've got content after content. Seems like people are staying up all hours of the night doing mock drafts. I encourage everyone to check that out. Should that be your thing?
Definitely. Yeah, tonight, guys, it's Best Ball Mania. So we're going to do the $25 contest tonight, or at least try to, and then a couple other smaller ones again. So check that out, 10:30 p.m. Central. I'll be on doing some drafting on Underdog Fantasy in my background. If you guys haven't seen yet, use promo code LTS. Download the app. It's fun. It actually is really fun.
Thanks for that, Tanner. And Nick, how did your show go this morning? A lot covered from what I understand.
Yeah, we broke down UFC 278 that happens tonight. Me, Kenny, and Craig, our Head Kicks and Haymakers show every Saturday. That usually happens every Sunday, but pay-per-views, we do a Saturday show. Made our predictions. Also, if you check our social media, we made a little group. Get into the group, make your picks, and if you beat us in the picks, we'll give you a shout-out tomorrow's post-show as we'll do that live tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Central Time Zone.
Yeah. I encourage everyone to check that out. Great content and a very big part of Let's Talk Sports. So we open up the show on the Packers. I'm sure Nick has some views on that. How you feeling after a week and a bit into the preseason games?
Well, I mean, early thoughts is the receivers got to stop dropping the ball, right? I mean, that's what the camp is. Everybody's saying in camp. Aaron's come out and said it. Randall Cobb's come out and said it. I watched a little bit of last night's game, not too bad. A little bit better version of Jordan Love. I think the first game, he threw like 3 picks, but some of that I think they kind of come out and said, hey, that wasn't all Jordan Love. It's some of these receivers are running wrong routes. Aaron's kind of come out, even defended Jordan Love, said, hey, our receivers got to help this guy out when they're out here. Our receivers got a lot to go. I've said that before. I think we're going to come on late, but our defense is going to carry us, and we're going to be able to run the ball well. I still think we're going to be the best in the class of this NFC North. I expect us to come on late, and hopefully these guys get their cases of the dropsies out of the way early, and Aaron will be putting the ball into places where they're supposed to catch it. And he'll sour on a guy, and they'll be sitting down there on the bench for a while until he comes back to you. But we'll see, man. It's the receivers is obviously going to be the biggest question mark of the year, and that answer still hasn't even been remotely answered yet.
Yeah. Audrey, so Tanner, how do you feel about the Packers? I know you always have strong feelings on that.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about the Packers wide receiver ranks. Past basically Randall Cobb, Romeo Doubs, maybe Sammy Watkins as well, and the Lizard King. I don't know if you can trust anything. That makes me nervous to even pick Aaron Rodgers right now in the top 5 rounds. So, which I know he'll still go in our draft on Sunday, a week from Sunday. So, but like, I don't know. This worries me, but it also ups the I believe in my mind the rankings for Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon, because if your receivers can't catch, what are you gonna do? oh, you're going to use your running backs. You're going to pass Aaron Jones. You're going to let A.J. Dillon bulldoze up the middle. So that's a little worrisome, dude, for the Packers. But again, preseason, week 2, can't take too much away from it. It's just a preseason. So let's see how maybe next week rolls, see if any improvement. But it really comes down to week 1, week 2. You can't really count week 1 either, because last year, remember, Aaron Rodgers threw like 3 picks and then throw another pick for another 9 weeks. So anything can happen week 1. But yeah, it kind of worries me with all the drops. We Chiefs fans have felt the drops before a few years ago, before the Super Bowl. And yeah, that just needs to get corrected. Hopefully, I mean, obviously I know Aaron Rodgers doing this thing, but I still don't know if I'm going to let Love off the hook all the way, though, just so you know.
I feel you're not. JJ, how do you feel about the Packers?
Yeah, I mean, like Tanner was saying, this is just a preseason game, so I don't want to overreact here. I mean, it's something that Aaron Rodgers has done before, call out his wide receivers in the media. Yeah, I mean, a little bit of concern with the rookies, but I think they've got plenty of time to clean this up. That's what the preseason is for. You got to use this time wisely to clean up your mistakes. I always think it's a good thing when Aaron Rodgers calls out people like that publicly, because that's a good motivating factor. But yeah, I mean, not a lot of concern with me for the Packers, especially because I do believe that their defense is going to be so great this year. And you'll have a handful of games where, even if the offense, that, so yeah, not a whole lot of concerns here. I would just be interested to see, is Dubs going to be the WR4 in this offense, and how is that going to shake out in terms of the pecking order in that wide receiver room?
Yeah, I mean, out of everything, so week 1 means nothing in the regular season. So preseason week 1 means even less. So, I mean, talk to me when we're about a month in the season, and then I might be a little more panicked. But right now, I'm not panicked at all. It is what it is. It's kind of what I expected. So, again, we're going to be the class of this division. I'm pretty still confident in Aaron Rodgers, our running game, and our defense. The receivers will come along eventually. At least I hope so.
I think so too.
I agree. I think look, we've seen this story before. Aaron Rodgers gets rideouts into shape, so I wouldn't worry about this. If this is still a story, say week 5, then I'm sure we'll talk, but I'm not convinced it will be. And Carlos adds wideouts getting hurt left and right, got to go running back heavy, which I do expect that to be a bigger part of that offense. We've talked about this quite a few times on the fantasy show with Ryan, but would you agree with that as a Packers fan, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, I've said it all along. I mean, as far as even fantasy-wise, you're probably going to look at Aaron Jones in the second round, A.J. Dillon to cuff him later on, try to get those, even pair them up together. Because I think Aaron Jones we're going to get a lot of Jones in the backfield, out of the backfield, and maybe even lined up as a receiver. Lazard, I wouldn't trust Green Bay wideout in any fantasy. Maybe take Lazard late because there's somebody's going to have to catch the ball. But as far as fantasy, I'm taking Jones probably at least, grab him in the second.
Yeah, and Lazard's going roughly somewhere between 7 and 10 rounds. So, I mean, you can always get him late to pair up with Rodgers if need be. But yes, Gary, rely on Jones and Dillon early until the Lizard King in Watson. I don't know Watson. I don't think Watson does jack this year because he keeps getting injured. So it's Lazard and Dubs essentially this year.
Yeah, I would say go with Dubs here if you're drafting any of those wide receivers in fantasy, just because you're not going to invest a whole lot, whether you get them in like the 10th round or even maybe like the 12th round or 13th round. that's a very minimal investment, and so I think that would be the pick for me. I mean, I'm not taking Alan Lazard with my 7th or 8th round pick. I have no idea what to expect with that guy. If anything, I'd probably go with the tight end.
Tunyon.
Tunyon
Yeah.
hasn't played yet either, though, because he's coming
No.
off of ACL surgery
Yeah.
either. So I mean, they're all. I mean, any wide receiver you take in this, in Green Bay is going to be question marks. There's going to be whether it's the tight ends or the receivers. I do like Dobbs if you get him late. And you take him as your second to last pick or last pick. That's a pick that could very easily hit for you.
Yeah, and Tunyon in a deep league, definitely I would stash him because his ETA right now to come back to the Packers is week 8. So that's the latest news I've seen.
Yeah, I agree. So the Chiefs, they've got their own rumours going around the team in regard to receivers. If we start with you, Tanner, how confident are you in the team with what you've seen at the small sample size so far?
Tell you what, I feel a lot better than the Packers fans on their wideouts. So I feel pretty good. Juju kind of got banged up last week with a leg, ankle injury, whatever it was. Nothing major. Cole got carted off, or he walked off eventually with a groin injury. Doesn't sound like anything serious, just regular old training camp bang-ups. So I feel pretty good because you got guys stepping up too. Sky Moore, MVS, former Packer there. We even got Justin Watson, who could be our WR5 in the end. He looked really good last week in preseason, so I'm excited to look for him today in the game. So I mean, I feel better about it, even if a Juju goes down or a Cole gets, the groin affects him later on. I still feel like you got options out there. Plus, we still got this week. I believe it was this week. Josh Gordon's been something turned on, and he's like, "Oh, I need to catch the ball while I make breaks." So, like, he's been raved about in camp this week, which is something we needed to see, and he needed himself. Even if he's not going to make the roster, to get on another roster, he needed this kind of week. So, excited to see him in today's game to kind of watch as well. A guy that, we could keep 6 wide receivers just for the fact of special teams. Justin Watson plays special teams, and I believe Sky Moore play special teams. So that still leaves a few receivers. So I think we keep 6. And like I said, Juju's gonna be 1. I think Cole, as long as he's healthy, is 2. Then you got MVS, Sky Moore, and then the rest. So I feel good about the wide receiver spot. Tyreek or no Tyreek, I feel pretty dang good. So.
Yeah. Would you agree with that, JJ?
Yeah, absolutely. And my biggest takeaway from that preseason game was the fact that Mahomes, when he was in there, had 6 completions to 6 different receivers, and I think
none Juju.
Even before the training camp started, I think this was kind of the expectation that this year that you're going to be unpredictable, and the Chiefs are going to keep these defenses on their heels to a certain extent. You're not going to see all of these too high safety looks like you did last year, because the Chiefs were so predictable. You knew you had to stop 2 guys and that's it. And so you're going to see the expert playmaking and certainly the expert play calling from Andy Reid this year. Try to confuse those defenses and not really know who they're going to throw the ball to. It looks, I still think at this point, it looks like they're going to cut Ronald Jones, which, I mean, I think he's kind of a bum. I don't really care about that. But I'm really impressed with what I've seen so far from Isaiah Pacheco. Really looking forward to seeing how he looks on that depth chart this year.
And also, real quick here. So yesterday, Blake Bell went down with a hip injury, non-contact. Still no update on what's happening there. He's our tight end too. He's one of the best blockers around for tight ends. If Blake Bell goes out for a significant amount of time, you might look at a couple more weapons come into play with Jordy Fortson and Noah Gray. So if you have 2 to 3 tight ends that can go out there, make plays just like Travis Kelce does, and you got all the wideouts, and you have a couple running backs, look, Mahomes should be up there in your list anyways, but this makes it really hard for defense again to have to go against Andy Reid's offense.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Would you agree, Bodkins?
Yeah, I mean the Chiefs are in good shape. I mean they have the depth. I think that's something that the Packers don't have at wide receiver. What they don't have is really the room for error that the Packers have. I feel like the Packers have more room for error just because their division is weaker. The Chiefs don't have that room because that division 1 through 4 is stacked. I mean, you can make a case for any one of those teams to win that division. So the Chiefs are going to be in some dogfights almost in every game in that division. Where I think Green Bay will be able to, not have to hit their stride right off the bat because their division's a little weaker and can hit it a little bit later because the likes of the Bears and the Lions and the Vikings aren't as good as the other teams in the AFC West. So I'll take, the Chiefs should still be fine. They still have Pat Mahomes. They still have Travis Kelce, the best tight end in this league. They're going to be just fine. I still have them the number one team in that division.
Yeah, and Nick as well. You said we don't have a room for error. We really don't. Weeks 1 through 7 are all playoff potential teams. Arizona, the Chargers, the Colts, the Bucks, the Raiders, the Bills, and San Francisco for some as well. Not me, but for some. And then you have Tennessee after the bye. So it's literally no room for error. If you go, I don't know, 50-50 on that, I don't think it's looking good for at least a 1 or 2 seed. You're probably looking wild card at that range. So it's a pretty big deal to make sure we're square and ready to go for that first part of the season.
Yeah, and the other thing too about the Packers is that they've got all of the room for error because you can talk about the division being weak and whatnot. The entire NFC sucks. So, you don't need to do much to make the NFC Championship game in the NFC. So that's why I'd be really high on the Packers this year.
It's top heavy. The NFC is so top heavy. I mean, you have 3 teams maybe. Where in the AFC, I mean, you could list 10 teams that can make the playoffs, if not more, that are playoff caliber, and you can't say that in the AFC, in the NFC.
Yeah, not as much confidence either.
Yeah.
I agree. I think how the division shakes out, is such an important point by Nick, just because it does give you a bit of breathing space in regard to receivers. Should it not be a good situation, then it also gives you breathing space should you want to put some sort of small trade together to bring in a veteran if needed. So, the next topic I wanted to talk about is Donovan Mitchell. There's still all sorts of rumours about the latest rumours being other teams other than New York are making calls. How do you feel about this, JG? Do you see a different team maybe making a move than what we previously talked about?
I think for the most part it's just noise here, and I think the Utah Jazz are just posturing because I don't really see like the Hornets or the Wizards, which are 2 teams that have been thrown out there, making a deal for Donovan Mitchell. That just doesn't make sense to me because they're not going anywhere if they make a deal for him. The Knicks, I still think there's some potential for that deal to get done with the Knicks, but I don't think they're going to give up the 6 first-round picks and R.J. Barrett. I don't think that's going to happen. I think at some point the Jazz want this deal to get done worse than the Knicks want it to get done. And I think Danny Ainge, I mean, he's trying to pump up the value right now, but I think he's more desperate in my eyes to get rid of Donovan Mitchell than the Knicks are to try to go ahead and get him. And I think at some point the price is going to come down, especially if they end up dealing him to the Knicks. Miami Heat, again, that would be my favorite spot for him to land. But I just don't think it's going to happen unless the Heat give up Bam Adebayo. And if you give up Adebayo, then what do you really have? I mean, I don't think you're going to win anything with just Jimmy Butler and Donovan Mitchell. And so I could easily see, the Jazz, holding on to Donovan Mitchell, maybe leading up to the trade deadline. But I don't think you're going to see anything get done anytime soon.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Is that how you feel, Tanner?
So, Jason, have you heard the rumors that some say that they are asking for R.J. Barrett and 6 first-round picks?
That's
Yeah.
what they first offered.
Oh,
Yeah.
is that the first offer? Okay.
Yeah.
And also, it looks like 2 other teams, according to Sportsnot, 2 other teams have reignited the trade talks as well outside of Miami in the Knicks, which would be the Charlotte Hornets and the Washington Wizards, who would basically be better draft picks in the end going into play if they were to get 6. So, Hornets, maybe. I wouldn't want to see him go to the Wizards. A waste of talent, just like John Wall and everybody else that's been through Washington lately. So I don't know where he goes. I don't think he goes anywhere yet. Jason, we talked about it, I think, a couple weeks ago on Kevin Durant. These guys don't leave until probably Christmas or time frame or something in that. So I think they start with the Jazz, start with their teams and get traded later, but that'd be it. I think they should get traded beforehand. But yeah, I don't know. Like, what do you think of the Charlotte Hornets and Washington Wizards? They got a chance. They got enough to be able to put out there. I mean, if you're getting 6 draft picks, you might as well go for those teams.
Well, again, the only thing, right quick, Nick, before you go, the only thing that the Jazz said were that there were 2 offers out there that they really, really like. They weren't specific on which 2 offers those were. They just said, oh, we've got 2 offers we really, really like. To me, that's just posturing. So I don't think the Hornets and the Wizards, I don't think that's a realistic deal that can get done.
Well, I mean, you said the 2 teams. The reason they're saying 2 teams is try to pit those teams against each other to outbid each other to get the highest bid. But I mean, JG hit the nail on the head, man. And they're going to have to come down for their asking price. They got a sucker when they traded Rudy Gobert for 4 first-round picks. Now they think that they can double that with Donovan Mitchell and they're asking for 6 first-round picks. There's no way in heck anybody should trade 6 first-round picks for Donovan Mitchell. I mean, the kid's an all-star player, but you're giving up way too much if you're giving up 6 first-round picks. There's a reason he's not a New York Knick right now, and that's because the Knicks woke up and said 6 first-round picks plus R.J. Barrett plus somebody else. We're just going to have nobody but Donovan Mitchell. We're not getting any better. We're just getting Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson as our backcourt. We're not even going to be we won't even make the playoff circle or whatever it's called these days if we do that. So, I mean, it's the Jazz have got to wake up and realize, hey, we already got 1 sucker. There's probably not 2 suckers out there for us to get to make this trade. So they can say they like 2 deals, but nobody should be giving up 6 first-round picks. Donovan Mitchell will be in a Utah Jazz start of game 1 because they're just asking too much.
Yeah, and the other thing I would say, too, is that Danny Ainge, as we all know, he really, really loves those picks. He's not like the LA Rams who say F the picks. He loves to get those picks, and I think at some point when you start to see a fair deal, such as R.J. Barrett and 3 first-round picks, I think at some point that Danny Ainge would take that deal because he loves him some picks, however many he can get. But, to me, that's a fair trade. R.J. Barrett and 3 first-round picks, I'd do that deal if I were the Jazz.
That's probably more fair. I'll give you that. I'm high on R.J. Barrett, but and that's probably what they'll have to ask. If I'm the Knicks, I'd try to keep R.J. and throw in Obi Toppin or somebody like that. But I mean, 3 first-round picks is way better than 6. Like, there's no way I'm giving up 6 first-round picks. Like, that's just insane. You're giving up, almost a half a decade's worth of first-round picks.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, if you're trading a lot of your young players, you're going to need those picks. If there's less players, you can get me on board with a few more picks because they've got that young core. So it depends how much you're giving up, I guess.
Yeah, it really does in the end. So, I mean, that's a lot of future gone with 6. 3, 4, maybe, but 6 is a lot.
Yeah, I agree. So the last subject I wanted to touch on is, I know we've talked about a lot with the Deshaun Watson situation. Now the agreement has been how many games? How do you guys feel about the situation for the Browns? Do you feel playoffs is out of the question, and with Jacoby Brissett, which as it would see at this stage, it seems like they won't be making a move? If we start with you, Tanner.
Yeah, the whole situation there. I mean, luckily for Browns fans, it's not a year because that would put them out. I think it's possible for these guys to be a contender going into play, even with Jacoby Brissett. They still got a decent line. They got a couple weapons in there. It really it just opens the door up for Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, honestly, and Ernest Johnson on that running game. I think their defense will carry them. I think there'll be contenders still come week 11 when they play the Houston Texans, or week 13 or whatever it is. So it's possible because Baltimore, we all know, should dominate. Well, we said that last year, but should dominate now with being healthy for the most part. Cincinnati should be about where they were last time, so that still leaves a second wild card open. The Browns could be into contention. I don't see the Steelers in contention. There's a few other guys. It's going to be hard, but I think they'll still be contenders in the end. So I don't feel, with the 11 games, I don't feel like the Browns are totally out of it by any means. They could easily sneak a few wins here and there. This isn't the Colts team when Brissett was quarterback. This is a team that's actually built to compete, not unlike those Colts. So
that Colts team was built to compete. I beg to differ. That Colts team was better than this Browns team.
What?
Yes. Really? Yes. Okay. That offensive line, that defense, that Colts team was better than this Browns team with Jacoby Brissett. Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. So, I mean, he didn't take him very far there, so we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, for me, Jacoby Brissett is what he is, which is a 500 quarterback. And for me, if they can get to 5-6 or 6-5 before Deshaun Watson comes back, then I certainly think that they will be in the mix to make the playoffs. But it's going to be tough. I do believe in that roster. I'm not going to get into the comparison between that Colts team. I think that's a solid Cleveland Browns roster, and I think they're going to be motivated, especially after their guy just got suspended for 11 games. I think they'll be in the mix. But Jacoby Brissett, I think the best he could probably do is 6-5 while Deshaun Watson is out. And I think, that might be good enough to at least get them into the playoffs when Watson comes back.
So I'm on the opposite end of you guys. I'm just looking at their schedule here. So week 1, they got the Panthers, the Baker revenge game. Then they have the Jets, Steelers. Now, had they what was it, the original 6 games, right?
Yeah,
6 games, the original?
6 games, yeah.
And I thought maybe then if there's 6 games, that would be survivable. But then it gets the meat of their schedule starts happening before he comes back too. You got the Chargers, the Ravens, the Bengals, the Dolphins, the Bills, the Bucks. I mean, I don't know if they win a single one of them games with Jacoby Brissett. Those are all playoff teams, and you lose that many. We just talked about this earlier about how rough that AFC is, and you lose 5, 6, 7 games. There's going to be teams that are jockeying that's going to outdo you. And then we haven't even seen Deshaun play in over a year and a half. And then the remaining schedule, again, is the Bengals, the Ravens, the Saints, and then they have the Commanders and Steelers at the end there. So, I mean, it's not like their schedule gets any easier when he comes back. And we don't know how well he's going to play. I mean, it didn't look great in the one preseason game. I know preseason don't matter, but didn't look great.
A little rough.
Yeah, a little rough. Rougher than his back is hurting, right? So, he might need to I'm not on the opposite end. I just think it's been so much distraction all season, all off season on this. We've seen this happen with teams before when there's a lot of distractions. Those teams usually don't play well in the regular season. because all the media and everybody's, the circus that is. And then when he comes back, it's going to even be a bigger circus. If they struggle, it's going to be a circus. I'm just all out on the Browns this season. I might hop back in next year when this is a little bit put more to the side and people have maybe forgot about some things. But I'm not buying any stock on the Browns this year.
Yeah, can be interesting. That it's interesting looking at that schedule. Does that change anything for you, Tan or JG, or do you just feel like with the pieces around Brissett they'll be able to get done with that defense as well?
Now, I think they can get 5 wins before the bye. I think they can take Cincy. New England, they can take. Atlanta, they can win. Pittsburgh, New York. I think they lose to Baker Mayfield because I think Baker just puts up monster numbers against them. Revenge game. But come back. Your first 3 games before Houston goes into play, that's where it's going to really be the tough tail sign. They might be able to do something in Miami. I don't know if they do Buffalo or Tampa. But that's really comes into play is that going up to bye week 9, if you can win a couple more of those games that you shouldn't technically win, looking out now, win the Carolina game and win the Cincy game, that puts you in great position come week 13. But yeah, I still think they're still gonna be a contender when it comes time when Deshaun comes back. Now a lot to come tell, see how they finish, but I think they'll still be a contender come Houston Texans game.
Yeah, like I don't have as much of a concern about their schedule as I do as the other thing that Nick mentioned, which is the fact that it's going to be a media circus the entire year.
Yeah.
And how do you react to that? Now, these guys are professionals, so you're supposed to come to work and act like a professional and try to block out all that outside noise. And I think that's possible for the Browns team to be able to do that. But on the other side, I could see a scenario. I think they're just going to play it by ear. But I could see a scenario where if this thing gets away from them in these first 4 or 5 games, I could see a scenario where the owner's just going to say, okay, let's just call it a wrap. And now they are going to tank. If it gets out of hand, I could see them tanking for a high draft pick next year. That's not my prediction, but I can certainly see that scenario playing out.
If that does happen, do you even see Watson coming back this year? Are they just, you know what I mean? Like, let's just say they've only got 2 to 3 wins with Brissett at quarterback, and then Watson comes back. Do they let him play out the year, or they just say, hey, ride the pine, and we're gonna tank the rest of this season?
No, I think you gotta let him play, dude, because his skill set is going to decline if it hasn't already. And you can't just sit out 2 whole years without having live game reps. And that's always been my biggest concern about Deshaun Watson is like he just sat out a year. How much has his skill set declined up to this point? Well, now he's got to miss another 11 games. I would certainly bring him back because you want him in live game action as soon as possible, even if they end up just trying to play for next year.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think even if it goes bad, you've got to use it as a practice a few games for him to get him ready for next year. I would agree with that.
Yeah, and it's something similar we talked last week when Nick wasn't on about the Jet situation. If Zach Wilson was going to miss like 5-6 games, and Joe Flacco does really well, do you stick with them or not? And you have to see what you got. So even if it's a 2-win team going into the Houston game, you got to start Deshaun because you got to see what you got. If not, at least get him acclimated, and then hopefully through a full offseason, he's there.
Yep, I agree. So as we wrap things up, I know you've got a big weekend on your channel, Nick. What time do you go live tomorrow?
So we'll have 2 shows tomorrow. We got Head Kicks and Haymakers, our UFC 277 post show at 7 a.m. Central. And then you, my man, Dan, is going to be joining me Sunday night for the Bodkins show one-on-one special. about 6 p.m. Central Time Zone. So well, I'm looking forward to you're my special guest. I'm looking forward to that, my friend.
Dan,
Yeah, looking
Dan, don't
forward
let
to
him don't let him bully you on that. Don't let him bully you.
Don't you worry. First sign of it, he's off the network.
That's right. That's all I can hear.
Now I want to try to get him on our Wednesday show when we do our Sports Buffoons live mock draft. That'd be interesting.
That would be. Yeah, maybe we could talk about it.
Tanner, what have you got coming up this week? I'm sure a packed schedule as always.
Yeah, very busy. So let's see here. Today we did an 11 o'clock show right now. We got a pregame show, I think around 2 for the Chiefs. JG, I don't know if you're gonna hop on or not, but I know Mike and myself at 2. We're gonna have a post-game Chiefs show as well after the game. Then tonight we're doing the Best Ball Mania for $25 round, which I can win up to like I think $2 million if I became put first in, but I can win. There's a lot of money on the table for that one, so excited for that. As well as tomorrow, I don't think I have anything during the day at the moment, so I'm hoping just a little best ball again tomorrow night to wrap their weekend up, and then we'll do another auction draft next week. We'll do some more prep for our Yahoo League on Sunday, a week from Sunday, and then I'm going to try to go live Friday night at 6 for the Rotoballer League I'm in, and then Sunday will be our draft that JG and I are part of. Excited for that one. I'm going to try to go live there. We're going to see here how that all sets up because we're going over to Mike's. And then a week from that Sunday on the September 4th, it's my auction draft on that one. So I'm going to try to go live on that as well. So I still have another 2 weeks of mock drafts at night or drafts or something draft going into play. So you'll still see my face plenty. And then we'll figure out life after that. So still a lot to go. Buffoon Bodkins. We're gonna have Mikey on for our fantasy rep. Let Ryan take a week off with this new baby. So we'll have Mikey on Basement Brewed Fantasy Football on Monday, and then Jonathan Grishman, of course, will join us for some baseball talk. And I don't have anything in the middle yet, so Nick and I will figure life out there. But yeah, excited for it. Excited to get Mikey on finally and talk with him a little bit.
Yeah, but I know he's got a lot going on, so I'm excited. Coming on the channel, exciting things happening there. Everyone keep your eye out on this channel. We've got so much NFL content coming up, which Tanner's been helping me prep for. So excited for that, for the season to start. So all what remains is for me to thank all three of you for coming on and talking today.
Hey Dan, you got your Fantasy Football University episode 3 tomorrow, right?
Yeah, a work in progress because I've had one drop out already. So lineups to be confirmed slightly, but yeah, we've got it going live. Ryan says he's good to go, but if not, I'm going to give him an out just in case because even though Direction is insisting he doesn't pull out. Obviously, newborn and everything. So, yeah, looking forward to Mike's coming on and Scott is and the rest of the lineups to be finessed a little bit.
Yep. And then Gary, thanks for commenting there. I know we didn't answer all your questions, but yes, I don't think the Browns go for another quarterback. I think they just deal with what they got. So, and they don't target one in the draft.
Gary's trying to say the AFC East has got 4 teams in the playoffs. I mean,
yeah, I know. Gary, come on.
Gary, come on, Gary. No, the Jets not getting in. The Patriots probably not getting in. The Dolphins, real questionable mark, and maybe. I mean, they're a maybe, but don't tell me 4 teams.
Yeah, I would agree with that from someone what watches more of the division than most, which is my curse. So yeah. JJ, thanks for hopping on and giving us your NBA knowledge as always.
All right. I appreciate being on, guys.
Okay, no problem at all. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Carlos as well for commenting, as well as Gary, and we'll be back next week. So until then, let's talk sport, fans. Thanks for watching.